Well, Yale, there wasn't a lot of good-looking girls there, Mackenzie said, so handicap this one.
Yale took down Auburn in the first round last year, but then they were knocked off by San Diego State, and that's a pretty similar style to the one they're going to see with the Aggies. I mean, it could have been last year the high-octane game they had with Auburn took a little too much energy, hence the San Diego State loss. I mean, yeah, they dominated the Ivy, but inexcusable non-conference losses to Illinois, Chicago, and Delaware. I mean, I can't stand Buzz Williams. He doesn't seem to get good teams deep. And the Aggies don't really have an offense I want to back. I love Yale ATS here. I think they keep it close. Especially you look at the total, it's 134. I can get Yale +8 at some shops. I like that bet quite a bit. I just think the Aggies, I don't think they have it in them to put Yale away.
Yeah, see a total 139.5, 140. So I guess money's been coming in on the over, pushing this thing up. Yale and A&M. I just know Yale is a very popular upset pick, but I wonder, is that skewed? Dave, you mentioned the upset last year. Yeah. Do you think people just see Yale in their brackets and are picking Yale as an upset because of what we saw last year?
I totally agree with you, and I think a lot of that is also what I said. I mean, a lot of people know Buzz Williams' history, and I think that's just more of a pile-on. People love to bet those trendy underdogs, and Yale's one of them. I'm not so sure they can win. I just don't think A&M's offense can put anyone away. In other words, I don't care who's on the other side of that rotation number. I'm not laying 8 points with A&M against anybody. They're just very offensively challenged.
I'm going to take Yale. I agree with you. I'll take Yale plus the 7.5. And a lot of this is, am I talking about the Yale non-conference team that wasn't that good, or the Ivy League Yale team? Mackenzie, I don't know what got into your boys, but they were just unbelievably good in conference, not just winning, but destroying opponent after opponent. And they hit a point where they had a few games that were a little subpar at the very end, but that's because they had like a 3-game lead. They're going to be the regular season champions. And then they took care of business in the conference tourney. But this Yale team was light years better than everybody else in this conference. They just blitzed the whole Ivy League. And the Ivy League in recent years has had, good history in the tournament. And so because of that, this Yale team is elite by Ivy League standards and just dominated the league. So I got to take them plus 7.5 against an A&M team that can't shoot.
So
I agree. And I think if you look even deeper, people say, well, yeah, the Aggies play in the SEC. But they beat the teams in the SEC they should. And they didn't beat anybody they probably shouldn't have. And if you look at the schedule, they actually had the third easiest SEC schedule. So that just kind of underscores your point, Fez.
So I found a couple articles that profile upset teams that tend to generate upsets in the tournament. And some of the factors, and Yale actually was one of 4 teams they had listed. And these factors really made sense to me as, I've been reading about this kind of stuff for a long time. And this one seemed really right on point. One is you want the team to be slow paced. Because the theory is not only do you want to lessen the volume of scoring against the superior team, they're not usually comfortable going slow. These good teams usually go fast, right? So, and you got to find a way, that team's got to be able to slow the game down, because sometimes a fast team can dictate.
Although A&M is slow also.
Yeah, so, okay, so it won't, though Yale will want to slow it down, it won't bother A&M, is what you're saying.
But it'll certainly shorten the game.
Yeah. Fewer.
Yale actually goes fast, though.
Relative to what? A normal? Well, the KenPom.
184 in tempo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's that's a little below average, right? 300. Yeah. How many teams are in his? 300 and some? 330.
Yeah.
Okay.
I stand corrected.
More than that.
Yeah. So, but you're right. Not a super slow team. Mm-hmm. Number 2, fewer free throws. You might think, wait a minute, why wouldn't you want free throws? It makes a ton of sense. If you're a small team, meaning in a small conference, and you're beating up that team underneath. Inside, you're not going to beat up the big boy inside, right? Mm-hmm. So that means you're going to have to play. Either you're going to get dominated in the way you usually dominate, right? But if you shoot from outside, hey, it's hard to stop that. I mean, you can get a shot from deep against anyone, really. The question is, are you going to hit it? You've got to be at least good at 3-pointers. You can be great, but you got to be at least good. And last thing, you got to have a low turnover percentage, because if you can't handle the ball right? How do you control tempo in a way that handling the ball, turnover percentage and tempo kind of go hand in hand? But if you have an excellent turnover percentage, think about the teams that get upsets. They don't give the ball away. They shoot a lot of threes, and if they get hot, they win the game. So the teams that met this category or these items were Yale, Lipscomb. How do you say that?
Lipscomb.
Liberty, and U.S. San Diego. How do you say that?
UCSD.
UC San Diego. Okay. All right. So kind of interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Ivy League teams since 2010, 13-8 ATS, 8-13 straight up.
Okay, that spread does matter sometimes.
Yeah, 20-12 to the under Ivy League teams in the last 32 appearances in the tournament. 32 games in the tournament.
That's interesting. I wonder how correlate. I mean, you would think the covers would come with the unders.
Yeah.